guys, welcome back to my channel. So I've been noticing that a lot of you guys have been telling me that my skin looks flawless and that you love my foundation and my foundation looks good on my skin and all those great comments. So I figured why not come on here and just do an updated foundation routine for you guys, because I haven't filmed one in over I think like 6 months, and my foundation routine has definitely changed. It has evolved. It has gotten 10 times better. So I figured what better way to show you guys my new foundation routine than to do an in-depth detailed foundation routine for you guys, because the last one I filmed was about 6 months ago. So yeah, thank you guys so much for clicking on this video. If you are new here, my name is Alexis Jones. Welcome to my channel, and let's just get straight into it. So for me, I typically have very dry skin. It's always dry. It's not oily. It's nothing else. It's basically dry all the time. You guys probably can't see, but right here, it is a dry patch right there, and then right here on my chin also is a dry patch. So I have to be careful with what foundations I use on my skin, because a lot of the times foundations tend to pull on my dry patches and I can see it through my foundation, and it just looks very ugly and like cakey and just disgusting, and I really don't like it. So I typically stay away from matte finish foundations. I'm more of like a dewy foundation, or you know, something of that nature. The foundation that I'm going to be using today, I've been using it for the past couple days and I'm so obsessed with it. It is the Givenchy Tint Couture Everwear 24-Hour Satin Finish Full Coverage Foundation with SPF 20 in it. I've just been obsessed with it the past couple days. So this is the foundation I'm going to be using today. Moving on to primers, I have been loving the Milk Makeup Hydro Grip Primer. Now I love this primer not only because I'm going to just get started. And I'm gonna do about 2.5 pumps, but I love this primer not only because it is hydrating on the skin, but also because it grips the skin perfectly. It allows a very tacky grip, so that way when you apply your foundation, everything just goes on smoothly. So I have really been loving this foundation lately because, like I said, it allows my foundation to stick to my skin, and it also helps with my dry patches. Great. Okay, so it also helps with my dry patches because it is a hydrating primer. It helps cover my dry patches, so I really like that. In my T-zone, I'm going to go in with the Becca Evermatte Poreless Primer. Now, the reason that I use this primer, you guys are probably like, but your skin is dry, why are you using a matte primer? The reason I like to use this matte primer is because I use so many hydrating products, and my skin does get oily in my T-zone, so I would like to make sure that it does not get over oily right here in this area. So I typically like to put it right here in this area, just to make sure that this part stays matte. I like to keep the center of my face very matte, just because that's typically where I get oily throughout the day, and I don't want to produce I don't want it to like look over oily in that area. So that's why I typically just go in with a mattifying primer just in my T-zone. Now that I have my face primer, I like to color correct a little bit. As you guys can see, like right here, I have a few dots around my mouth area. It's actually pretty dark. So I just like to go in and use a concealer just to like even out my skin tone and even everything out. So I'm going to be using my Fenty Beauty concealer in the shade 360. And I'm just going to go in and just kind of conceal all of that. Basically just wherever I feel like it's red or it's dark marks, I basically just conceal all of that, just so that I have a little bit more of an even canvas to work with. So one of the main things that works for me that I have recently started doing is waxing my face. I know you guys are probably like, what? But I created my own sugar wax and I wax my face myself. It's an organic sugar wax, and I wax my face myself. And what I noticed about that when doing that is that it really helps my foundation look so flawless and lay so perfectly on my skin. It's the best thing ever, honestly. I wish I would have started doing this a long time ago, but it really changed my foundation game. My skin just looks like so flawless now that I wax my face. So if you guys want to see how I wax my face and how I create my scrub, just comment down below. I mean my wax, just comment down below and let me know, and I can definitely film that for you guys the next time I need to wax my face. I just waxed my face like maybe 3 days ago, so I don't really need to do it right now, but next time I need to do it, if you guys want to see that, let me know and I'll definitely do that for you guys. So I like to just go in just with my concealer brush. This is the number 57 concealer brush from Sephora, and as you can see, my mouth already looks so much brighter. This is also going to help when you apply your foundation. It's going to help even everything out. So I'm just going in with this and I'm just pressing it into the skin. I'm not really trying to blend it out too much. I'm just pressing it into the skin, and this is just blending everything out but also still allowing me to have a little bit of coverage. So now that we have that done, it's time to move on to foundation. I'm gonna go in with maybe about 4 pumps of my foundation on the back of my hand, and I'm gonna distribute it with my finger first. That's what I like to do. I do about 4 pumps, well, 4 dots all over my face, on each side rather, and then just like that. So I mainly like to focus the product like in my cheek area right here, because that's where I have a lot of like acne scars, so that's what I like to do. And then I'm just going to take my brush and I'm just going to blend it out. And now I'm not going to be swiping or anything like that. I'm basically just like tapping it in and lightly like swiping, very, very lightly. That way we're not messing up the product that we put under, because we really worked hard on perfecting our base underneath. You don't want to disturb it. So like around my mouth area, I'm basically just patting the foundation, trying not to disturb anything that we applied, because now, as you can see, it's like very even. You don't really see any of my acne scars. So I'm just doing the same thing again. I'm basically just like tapping it and like swiping it just like very, very slightly. And then around my mouth, I'm basically just like tapping it. Now I'm gonna go in with the second layer, because I still have a lot of foundation on the back of my hand. I'm gonna take the rest of this foundation and I'm gonna create a second layer, but I'm only focusing it, like I said, on my cheek area, because that's typically where I have my problem areas. And then whatever's left over in my hand, I just put it on the back of my forehead, just to help me out a little bit. So I'm gonna be using my Morphe sponge, and this is clean and damp with water. So I'm gonna take the back of my sponge, the flat part, and I'm just like tapping in the areas that I feel like I need a little bit more coverage. And this is also picking up any extra product that I don't need. This is basically what my skin looks like. I'm gonna zoom in for you guys so you guys can get a closer look. This is what my foundation looks like up close. I wanted to show you guys my skin, that way you guys can get like an accurate reading on what my skin looks like. And I think it looks really good. Like I said, you can't really see any of my acne scars or anything like that, because I did do a lot of color correcting and stuff like that. So yeah, this is what my skin looks like on both sides. It's very even. It looks very weightless, but it just looks like skin in my opinion, and I'm super obsessed with it. It blends perfectly with my neck. You don't really see any, you know, discoloration or anything like that. You don't see a line of demarcation. So yeah, this is basically what my skin looks like, what my forehead looks like. I have a little bump right here. I don't know what happened. It came after I waxed my face, so maybe I waxed my maybe I waxed this part a little different, or maybe I waxed it wrong. I'm not sure. But yeah, this is what my skin looks like. So now that we have that done, we're gonna move on to concealer, and I'm gonna go in with my Fenty Beauty concealer in the shade 360, and this is also just to do a little bit of color correcting. So I'm just gonna take that. I need my mirror. I'm just gonna take that right here in this area, just to help me out and even everything out. Like right here, you guys see I have that little bump or that little amount of discoloration. So I'm literally just taking it everywhere that I feel needs a little bit of color correcting. So like right here on the outer corner, and just, you know, pretty much all of this little area. And then I'm just going to take my sponge and I'm gonna blend that out. I'm gonna use the same part where the foundation is, that way it blends into each other. And again, I'm just like patting that in. See how that just looks so flawless now? It looks even. So as you can see, this is what it looks like now that I've added that like concealer, but it also acts as a corrector. It just evened everything out for me. So that's why I like to do this step before actually concealing. So this is like concealing before concealing, if that makes sense. And again, I'm literally just patting that. I'm not swiping it or anything, because I do not want it to disrupt the base that we worked so hard to do. And that's basically it. So now you can see we basically just have an even canvas all the way around, even under our eyes. Everything looks perfect. So now we can move on to pretty much highlighting and contouring the face to give the shape a little bit of, give the face a little bit of dimension. So this is basically how I get my skin to look flawless, look like I don't have any acne scars or anything like that. Yeah, it's just, you know, a trick of the trade. I like to cream bronze before I do my highlighter, just because I just like the way that it looks better. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go in with the Anastasia Beverly Hills foundation stick. This is in the shade Cocoa, so that's what I'm going to use. And I'm literally just going to take that and I'm going to go up and down like that. Now when you're doing this step, you want to make sure that you do not bring your contour past the outside of your eye, because then you start going into your cheek area and it just doesn't look good. So I'm just adding it just like that on both sides of my face. Now when it comes to blending this out, I use two different methods. I either use the same brush I used or I use a sponge. I think I'm going to use my sponge this time just because, I don't know, that's just what I'm feeling. So I'm going to go in with my sponge. Sometimes I feel like when I use a brush, I feel like it leaves like streaks and stuff in my makeup, like especially right here, and I really don't like it. So I typically like to use my sponge. So that's what I'm doing, and I'm just going to blend all of that in. Again, I'm not really going any more past this out part of my, the outer corner of my eye. I'm just like focusing the product right here. And I'm definitely tapping, I'm not swiping, I'm not doing anything else other than tapping the product into place. And then for my forehead, I'm just gonna go in and just take my brush and just go in circular motions and just pretty much blend all of that in. My forehead, I don't really care so much about because there's nothing on my forehead anyway, so this is like perfect for me when it comes to blending everything in. I like to just blend it all in on my forehead. And then if I have to, then I'll go back and fix my baby hairs later. But for the most part, they kind of really stay in place. And I also like to take that like right into my hairline. That way it doesn't look, you know, like uneven or anything like that. Everything just looks even. And then I'm also going to take my sponge on my nose as well. And I'm just going to blend all of that in. So you see everything, I mean, it looks really crazy right now, but when we're done, I promise it'll look a million times better. So now finally, we're gonna be moving on to concealer. I'm gonna go in with the Becca Ultimate Longwear Concealer. This is in the shade Caramel. Do you say caramel or caramel? Comment down below and let me know. That's really weird. I always just say caramel. I like to keep it like right in this area because I don't know if you guys can tell, but my cheekbone is right here. So if I bring my concealer down too far, it just looks weird. So I'm learning to keep it like right in this little triangle area. So I'm just gonna take it and I'm just gonna draw just a bunch of lines right here, because that's basically where I want to focus my product at, and then everything else can just be blended into that. So my camera stopped recording, but I just applied a little bit to my chin, to my nose. I definitely added way too much concealer to my nose, but it's okay. And then I also like to, because I have a more of a oval shaped face, I like to round off my concealer right here in this area. So I basically like to round it just like that because I have more of an oval face and it just looks better to me. So I just like to have it rounded. For my chin and my forehead, I like to use my sponge, the part that I use to blend out my foundation, just because I don't really want that part to be too bright. So I like to do that because it kind of tones it down a little bit. And then on my forehead as well, I like to do the exact same thing. So I'm gonna turn to the side so you guys can see. So I basically just like to do that. So that way it just looks very like toned down, if you can see that. But it also still gives me that, you know, that little halo effect in the center of my forehead. See? Boom, perfect. And then for my nose, I'm actually going to use my finger first just because I feel like there's a lot of product. I accidentally went a little too overboard with my nose highlight. So I'm just going to, now that I have that, I'm just going to take my sponge, the back of my sponge as well, and I'm just going to blend all of that in. Perfect. So you see how it gave me that shape. It gives me the highlight in the center, but it's still, you know, very even. So that's what I was going for, and that's what I really like. And by using the flat part of my sponge, it only hits the top of your nose. So if you can see that, when I put the sponge on my nose, it's only hitting this part. My sponge is only hitting the very top of my nose, which doesn't allow the concealer to go anywhere else but on the top of my nose. So that's why I like to do that. I'm just going to use the bottom of my sponge to blend out my entire face. So I'm just going to take that and blend it out. And again, I like to keep it right in that area. I don't really like to move my concealer a lot just because I'm learning my face a little bit more, and I'm learning that that's how I like my concealer, just like right here in this area. So you see that? We getting there, guys. Yeah. You see, that's how I like my concealer to look. That's the gradient effect that I'm looking for. So yeah, I just like it to look very natural and very seamless. So this is kind of the look that I'm going for. My skin just looks amazing, as you guys can see. So now I'm gonna go in again, and I'm just going to do the exact same thing. Moving on to setting everything in place. Now under my eyes, I crease no matter what I do, no matter what setting powder I've used, no matter what concealer I've used. Even if the concealer says creaseless, I crease no matter what, because my eyes naturally have creases in them. So that's just something that I can't control. So I always like to conceal that with some sort of eyeshadow. For my setting powder, I typically like to use two different setting powders. I'm either gonna go in with the Hourglass Veil translucent setting powder or the Laura Mercier translucent setting powder. So I'm gonna go in with the Laura Mercier today. So I like to just blend everything out one last time, and then I'm gonna go in with my sponge, and I'm going to take now the pointy part of it, take it on my sponge, and I'm just gonna tap my sponge on the back of my hand. That way the product is blended thoroughly and it's not just sitting on top of the sponge. And I'm just pressing it into the skin. You see that? So I basically just pressed it into the skin. I didn't like swipe it or do anything like that, just pressing it into the skin. So again, putting that on the back of my hand, making sure it's blended out. And I'm just going to press it into the skin. And then once it's pressed in, then I can go in and, you know, blend everything in. I don't really worry too much about my under eyes because, like I said, I crease no matter what, so it's not really nothing I can do about that. So that's not really something that I'm too concerned with. But if you don't have any naturally creasing under eyes, then girl, I wish I was you. And then I'm also going to take that powder again on my chin as well. And on my chin, I typically bake just a little bit because of the fact that my chin gets so oily. Like, my chin is the one spot that always gets oily, so I like to bake that area and then bake my smile line area as well. We have that done. I like to go in with my Sephora Micro Smooth powder just because I love the way it looks. I love the way it makes everything feel. So, and it also provides a little bit of coverage. This is in the shade Matte 40, and I'm going to take that on a fluffy number 91 brush. And I'm just like to just go over all of that. This just evens my skin out, evens everything out that we just did on my face. You see that? It just evens everything out. So you see how right here had like a little gray cast? It doesn't have that anymore because I used the Micro Smooth powder. This powder is bomb. It is like, this is the product that I cannot live without. Make sure you guys try it. And then I'm also going to take that Micro Smooth powder and I'm just going to like pat it over my forehead. Just because my forehead was really, really shiny. But I don't really do too much to my forehead. That's basically all that I do to my forehead. And then I'm just going to dust away the rest of that powder. So now that we have pretty much our base done, we've set everything with powder, everything looks good and even and we're satisfied with it. Now it's time to warm up the face with a little bit of bronzer. I'm gonna go in with the Anastasia Beverly Hills bronzer in the shade Cappuccino. So I'm gonna use that. I've been really obsessing with this bronzer. And I'm gonna use that on a big fluffy brush. This is the Morphe R2 brush. So basically, I just use it going back and forth, and I use it the long way instead of like this. I use it like this to get in there, but also to diffuse it at the same time because I don't really want it to be harsh. And this color is kind of harsh on my skin tone, so I'm just going in. And right now I'm basically warming up my forehead. Now my forehead, I love my forehead to be like super dark. It gives me like that sun-kissed, sunburnt vibe. I know it's weird to say, like, who wants a sunburn vibe on their skin, but I do. I'm gonna go off camera and do my eyes, add some mascara, all that stuff, and then we'll come back with blush, highlight, and lips. So I'll be right back. Okay guys, so I'm back, my eyes are done. Let's go ahead and move on to the next thing. So I'm just gonna take this fluffy brush and I'm just basically wiping off the rest of that powder. Just making sure that all that powder is off my face. And then I'm gonna go in with my blush. I'm gonna be using the NARS Orgasm blush. I have heard so many things about this, but I never used it before, so I used it in my last video if you guys seen it. It's super, just like, I don't know how to explain it. It has like a little bit of highlight in it, so that's good. I'm taking that on a Morphe R3 brush and I'm going to smile and apply that. I love this blush. I think this is like my new favorite blush. I don't really have a favorite blush, but this is it. Perfect. So now I'm gonna go in with the Fix It Forget It up to 24-hour setting mist by Lancome. I've been liking this one a lot lately, so I'm gonna use it and I'm just gonna set my entire face. For highlight, I'm gonna go in with the Becca Champagne Pop Highlighter. I like to go between this one and the Anastasia Beverly Hills Sun Dipped Highlighter, so I'm gonna be using this one because I just bought it and I'm super excited to be using it again. So moving on to highlight, I'm gonna be using the Becca Champagne Pop Highlighter, and I'm gonna take that using a Sephora number 19 tapered brush. This is the tapered crease brush, so I'm gonna use that. I'm just gonna dip into that. So pretty. I like to go sideways like this. That way it's not like a straight line, but if you go sideways, it kind of blends it out. For lips, I'm going to be using quite a few different products. I'm going to start off with outlining my lips with the NYX pencil in the shade Nutmeg. On top of this, I'm going to go in with my lip pencil by Kylie in the shade Dulce K, and I'm going to put that on top. I'm going to go in with Dulce K as well on top of that. This is her liquid lipstick, so I'm just going to, I love the way her lipsticks smell. They smell pretty good. Alright you guys, well that is the end of this video. I really hope that this video helped you. I hope that I was able to give you some good tips and tricks on how to get a flawless foundation routine, how to get your makeup to look very flawless and hide your acne scars and things like that. I hope this video helped you guys out a lot. As always guys, please don't forget to give this video a huge thumbs up. Comment down below and let me know if I was able to help you guys. What is your foundation routine like? I would love to know. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you've made it this far. Follow me on Instagram at alexis.cjones, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye guys.